Hi everyone, welcome back to Health Bunker Podcast. It's been a while. I'm your host Dom. I hope everyone's in good health. Some of you will know me from the Health Bunker Clinic, and some will know me from the other podcast I run with my brother Chris called Sheep Farm Studios. Health Bunker Podcast will solely be devoted to health. These podcasts will be around 45 minutes long, covering many different health issues and health solutions. I will be talking with guests who are doctors, naturopaths, nutritionists, supplement and equipment manufacturers, authors and other health related people. Health Bunker is a wellness clinic in Halifax, West Yorkshire, where we use ozone and IV nutrition therapies including high dose vitamin C IVs. We also have Health Bunker supplements which stocks a range of well sourced UK made supplements. Before I start, I'd like to thank everybody who comes to the clinic and who purchases supplements from our online store. Regarding the supplements, I have a couple of small announcements before we get on. Firstly, our popular Complete Multi is back in stock with an upgraded formula. I've added the minerals boron and ionic molybdenum to the formula. Also, we have a new Health Bunker Liposomal vitamin C, suitable for all the family. It comes in tropical fruit flavour and kids love it, especially my grandson and Chris's daughter. Both of them asked for more. Anyway, please use discount codes. Don't forget to use discount codes. This is available to all Health Bunker customers, whether you're clinic or supplements, and all Sheep Farm listeners as well. You don't have to be a member or anything like that, or a subscriber. All you have to be is a listener. If you use the codes for the Liposomal is only 10%. It's a slightly less margin in that product, so we can't give as much away. But for all other Health Bunker products, still use the 25% code. Discount code. Both the codes are in the description, and you can use both codes in a single shop if you buy different items, multiple items. Okay, let's crack on with the podcast. I first met my podcast guest back in 2016 when I travelled to his then clinic on Harley Street in London for ozone injections. At that time, he was the only one in the UK doing this treatment. And I was suffering really badly from chronic pain in my neck, shoulders, back, quads, knees, really bad pain. It would, pretty horrific. Anybody who's going through that type of pain from fibromyalgia, arthritis, etc. Mine was more fibromyalgia based than arthritis, and I was getting chronic headaches with it as well, which is another symptom of Lyme disease or whatever Lyme disease is. So the chap's name is Oliver Eaton, and he's an experienced chiropractor, and he's done literally thousands of these injections on hundreds and hundreds of his patients over the last 10 years or so. Mr. Eaton is one of the UK's leading practitioners in this field, with his patients travelling to see him from across UK, Europe, and even the Middle East. He trained on this particular method called Prolozone in America, and continued on to complete further injection training with the Royal Society of Medicine, Charing Cross Hospital in London, and the medical department of the Heidelberg University in Germany. So what is Prolozone therapy, or as I call it, ozone injections? Basically, it's a process of injecting ozone directly into the muscle, joints, and other areas as well. And it works on just about any pain problem you might have. And as I said, I've had injections into muscle, i.e. like the trapezius, back muscles, shoulders, thighs, quads, calves, even my ankles, and so around the muscle, it works just around the muscle. It's fantastic. And he also injects directly into joints. So take your knee for an example. It goes into the gap within your knee joint and injects ozone gas in there. And I've had that done, and it really clears your knee pain up. Well, it cleared mine up anyway. And it works on, as I said, any sort of pain problem you might have. Now, there are differing degrees. Obviously, people who've had chronic pain for a long time might have different success rates to others. It might take you a few sessions to get that type of relief. I feel the relief from ozone injections more or less instantaneously, unlike say an ozone 10 pass, where it took me multiple times to have treatments before I start seeing my symptoms dampening down. So as I said, I'll just repeat, I've had ozone injected into my trapezius, neck, under the base of my skull, which Oliver actually talks about, shoulders, front and rear deltoids, glutes, quads, and directly into my knee joints. Oliver was trained by a guy who I followed when I was ill, going back 10 or 15 years, when I started watching Ozone videos, called Dr. Schallenberger. It's a right name, that, isn't it? He actually created Prolozone therapy. Now, Prolozone is the same as ozone, but they inject nutrients in as well as injecting ozone. So he talks about that in the podcast as well, which is very interesting. And Dr. Schallenberger has trained more than 700 doctors worldwide how to use these techniques, and he's the founder and director of the Nevada Center of Alternative and Anti-Aging Medicine, and previously worked as a clinical instructor for family medicine at the UC Davis School of Medicine in the US. Dr. Schallenberger is the author of 3 books, which I will ask anybody to buy: Bursting with Energy, the Type 2 Diabetes Breakthrough, and the Ozone Miracle. Now, I've read the first one and the last one. I haven't read the Diabetes Breakthrough book. Prolozone therapy is an homeopathic oxygen injection technique developed and pioneered by Dr. Schallenberger. It is excellent for all forms of muscle, skeletal and joint pain, including chronic neck and back pain, rotator cuff injuries, which I can speak for there because I had a rotator cuff injury, degenerative and arthritic hips and knees, degenerative discs, and shoulder and elbow pain. So Oliver can do all of these things. Oliver has devised his own protocols now, using his own profession as an osteopath with ozone for pretty amazing results. His clinic operates from Bedford, and all his contact details, if you want to contact him, are in the description below. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Let's get on with it. All right, welcome back to another Health Bunker podcast. I've forgotten what number this is, but I'll do a bigger intro and we'll go into that a little bit deeper then. But today I've got with me someone I've wanted to get on for a while. We haven't spoken for quite a few years now. And it's a chap that I spent a lot of time having treatments from, going back 2017, around about that time, to help me with a lot of pain management that I was getting from Lyme disease. And it worked a treat. The downside was he lives in Bedford. Which is quite a few miles away. But it's Oliver Eaton from the ProHealth Clinic. Hi, Oliver.
Hi there, Dom.
Yeah, good to speak to you.
Yeah.
It's been a few years, hasn't it? I bet it's been 3 or 4 years.
It has, yeah. So I've obviously done my job properly and kept you well. Yeah.
Yeah. I could probably do with some top-ups, to be fair, but as we all could, a bit of maintenance. But I know you've sent a few people up to our clinic, and I've mentioned you to other people as well. God knows if they've come down to see you, but people tend to say they're going to do something and never do it.
Yeah. No, they often kind of park it for a few months sometimes, I find, and then they'll suddenly have a bad day or something with their pain, and they'll say, "Oh, I remember what Dom said, so I'll go and see that chap down in Bedford."
Yeah, but I mean, the downside is we've been used to dealing with the NHS, which I'll say it's free, but it's not really free because there is a bit of a kickback in the nuts at times from it, or a lot of the times from it. And so people, and we find this, people don't like paying. It's simple as that. We've got into a culture where everything's laid on for us.
Exactly that. And that's what I often find, with people. It's only when they get to a desperate point or they've kind of got to the end of the road with that merry-go-round with the NHS. And it's particularly, since COVID, obviously waiting times have gone up, and obviously people's patience have gone down really with wanting to get, particularly when it comes to pain really, and it starts to affect their lives on a daily basis.
Yeah, and people have become iller. They've got even more ill now. Yeah. For various reasons. We won't go into any of that nonsense. And so, firstly, before we get into what you do, where can people contact you? Where are you based? Because I always forget.
Yeah, we're based in Bedford. We're soon to be expanding into different areas, probably over the next 6 months. But yeah, mainly based in Bedford at the moment. The website's prohealthclinic.co.uk. That's prohealthclinic.co.uk. And that's us really. Yeah.
Well, what you do is, or what I was having from you, the treatments I was having was ozone injections. Now, obviously, we do ozone Tempass treatments. You do ozone injections. They use the same ozone, but they're totally different treatment. And if you could just explain, before we get into your sort of background, on what ozone injections are.
Yeah, so ozone injections are the injection of medical ozone. Medical ozone is in the periodic table, oxygen's O2, medical ozone is just O3. So it's three oxygen molecules attached to each other, and it's an activated form of oxygen. So it's been shown in studies to stimulate the healing cells, stem cells, and collagen cells to help rebuild or strengthen sort of damaged tissue or weakened tissue, really. So generally, most areas that we have to treat are areas that of a poor blood supply, really. So, if you cut your skin, it's the oxygen nutrients in the blood supply of the skin that helps to heal and repair it. So other structures such as tendons, ligaments, and cartilage, they all have a poor blood supply, so their capacity to heal isn't as great. So that's where ozone really helps to, we're just putting into the body essentially what it's already got. We've already got oxygen. We're just putting it in areas that aren't receiving it very well.
Yeah, I mean, people who've listened to me go on about, there's two things I always go, well, diet's the first one, get your diet sorted out. But two of the major things I talk about is ozone and vitamin C infusions, or whatever form you can get it in, basically. But there's so many different ways you can get ozone into the system, from ozonated water, from a ozone sauna, and ozone injections are a very direct route into an area like muscle or even joint as well, into a joint, which we'll come on to in a bit. So what got you into this area? Just a bit of background on what got you into sort of natural health or natural healing.
Yeah. So I originally trained as an osteopath. But even a few years before that, I had a couple of rugby injuries that plagued me for many years. I tore my hamstring quite badly, and that caused all sorts of problems that I never really resolved with normal, regular treatments, really. So 1 o'clock in the morning, page 50 of Google, I found out about Ozone or Prolozone, what we do here at the clinic, and that was the start of my journey, really, of kind of understanding what ozone did and how it helped, and that's I went over to the States to train in it, primarily help treat myself, and then obviously naturally I incorporated it into my practice when I came back to the UK, and realized that not many people were doing it, really. So a lot of people were finding out about ozone on American websites because it's very popular over there, and then obviously searching for who did it in the UK. So we've been as you can imagine, been flat out, really, ever since. That was back in 2016. So that's how I came across it. So it's just nice being able to help people with a treatment that first helped me, really.
Yeah. Well, you went across to, did you train in Las Vegas with?
I did, Dr. Schallenberger.
Yeah. And Frank Schallenberger and Dr. Rowan and a few others that's where I got my information about ozone. I mean, the first time I bought an ozone generator was 2009. But it was for an ozone sauna. I hadn't a clue what we were doing with it, by the way. I didn't feel right well either. So it weren't. I think I broke something and I had to send back off to America for anyway. That was through Promo Life. But I got major benefits just from that ozone sauna at home.
I mean, there's so many applications. That's the versatile thing about ozone, and I'll forever be fascinated by it, really. And I still have people coming to the clinic, and I'll assess them, and they're in such bad shape. I'll assess them, and I'll probably give them a 10% chance that I'll be able to help. And they're still willing to try, and they come back and they're 90% better after 1 or 2 sessions. So ozone still to this day, amazes me of what it can do, even with the severest of cases. Yeah,
probably because we've been programmed that pharmaceutical and operations are the only way forward. It's interesting that you come from it from two directions. You were obviously an osteopath, and you also had injuries, and so you were looking at it from both sides, weren't you? Which is not dissimilar from myself. I obviously ill with Lyme disease, and I wanted to know what ozone did.
Sure. And I think it's I said I think I was always even sort of before I came across ozone, I was always very passionate about trying to make sure I could provide the best treatment possible, or the best service possible to my patients. And the worst thing that every practitioner, the worst thing that they can do is say, oh, sorry, there's nothing else I can do for you, whereas since Ozone came into my practice, I rarely ever have to say that now, because it's so powerful. So that's the biggest blessing, really, is just being able to offer people hope. And I say this a lot, it's quite addictive, in terms of getting people better. That feeling when people come back and say they've changed your life, it's quite an addictive feeling. And it's it's almost too good to be true, because it's Ozone is such a basic treatment, really.
But isn't that what humans are here for, to help each other? It's a basic raw ingredient to life, isn't it? Just helping other people,
Yeah.
We've all got to earn a living, etc. But if you can do something that actually brings benefit to people, all the better. And Ozone certainly does that. I've never seen bad results from Ozone treatments. Sometimes some people take a little bit longer than others. And also it depends on how, I'd say, toxic those people are, or how injured they are. And how they're living their life as well, to how quickly they heal.
Exactly that. And going back to diet, you said, that's a key part of, the success of any treatment, especially, Ozone as well. So, you've got to create the foundation for Ozone to take effect, really. Otherwise, it's just going to provide a, temporary relief.
Yes. Yeah. And the commitment from people, there's sort of different side. Obviously, finance is one commitment, time's another commitment, but the main commitment's in your head, isn't it? To commit to doing something and trying it. And these things are tried and tested, so that we know that we've had experience. But obviously, people coming into the clinic haven't.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and I think some of my patients, they'll run the treatment past their doctor first, and we know what the outcome of that, really. But it's so there is a commitment, because you're trying something that's out of the normal kind of realms of what's offered here in the UK in terms of medicine. So it's just the thing for me, most of my patients are in such a desperate state, really, and they've tried everything. They're quite willing and being committed to even the individuals that are afraid of needles. Really, it's quite extraordinary how they overcome that fear just so they can get the benefits of the treatment.
Yeah, do you know what? That we're going to say something else, but that's how many people have a fear of needles. It's quite amazing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I had a chap in earlier today, a couple of hours ago, and he was afraid of needles, but he was so desperate to get back to playing football. He didn't flinch once. When he came up off the couch, the couch paper was soaked with sweat, but he coped very well. But it's one of the benefits of Ozone, because it's such a fine substance. We don't have to use thick needles at all. Very, very fine needles, and that's some of the needles aren't too dissimilar in size to acupuncture needles. That's why it's such a safe treatment. And one of the benefits is that because Ozone spreads. It spreads deep within the tissues without actually having to insert the needle too deep at all. So compared to a steroid injection, where they have to go much deeper, it's a much more viscous substance, so they have to go and use a much thicker needle. Probably the most common comment people will make as they come off the treatment couch is that, oh, that was a lot easier than I thought it was. And that's simply because it's a much less invasive form of injection therapy compared to the injections offered within general medicine.
So how long? I don't think I've ever asked you this. How long were you an osteopath before you got into Ozone?
Not long, actually. Only about 3 years, really.
It's long enough, though, isn't it? It's long enough.
Yeah, it's long enough. Yeah, long enough. But it's great because it gave me the foundation sort of knowledge. Because Ozone, obviously, when you're treating someone, if say someone comes to see me with knee pain and they're completely out of line, and they've got one leg is appearing just slightly longer than the other, there's no point injecting anything into the knee unless you address some of the misalignments or the muscle health around the knee. So osteopathy gave me that foundation sort of knowledge to be able to, apply ozone in the right way. And that's sometimes my fear of ozone not getting into the wrong hands, but if ozone, say for example, if a GP was to or even a nurse sometime, or some mainly people that don't have much musculoskeletal knowledge. Sometimes the ozone really only provides temporary relief because it's just being used for pain management. But the way we apply it in the clinic, we're looking at to try and heal the problem and deal with the problem, long term, and that sometimes needs a holistic approach. If the muscles are tight around an area that I have to inject, we've got to loosen those muscles off as well. We've got to try and create an environment around the injection site to make sure that the symptoms don't return.
Yeah, and I suppose your experience with physiology, if you like, gives you that prime. I've met. We had a nurse working for us who was into his sport. He was a black belt in Krav Maga, so he sort of knew his way around the body, and he was into. He was a fantastic cannulation, or is still, because he was into the vascular side of things. So you being into sort of like what you're into, it does. It does go hand in glove.
It does, yeah. Because at the end of the day, if you've got to be fascinated by the body to be able to perform medicine, and I think you can be fascinated the body through sport. A lot of, like I said, martial artists are really into their body, and they really appreciate how it works holistically. And Pilates teachers, the physios, osteopaths, chiropractors. They're very, very holistic in terms of their knowledge on the body. They don't just assess it and treat it as individual body parts like most of the medical community does. It's the interrelationship between how everything works, really, and that's what makes people remain fascinated by the body and enjoy their job at the end of the day.
I think what makes you a bit different, though, and you probably don't think about this, but is that you're willing to look at other things, whereas most people who've got a practice, whatever that practice is, they're just solely focused on that one thing.
Yeah. And I think it's all about being open-minded. I think the best practitioners out there are the open-minded ones, and that's where we progress in medicine. That's how we progress in providing the best results to our patients or our clients, is actually being open-minded to bigger and better things that are going to get the best results.
I mean, there were probably one more person, weren't there, before you in this country to have the type of ozone training that you actually have.
Yeah,
I do believe.
Yeah. There was a chap in Wales. Unfortunately, I think he passed away. He had a heart attack, I think, the year before I trained up. And so I think he did the Prolozone. I think he did the all chemotherapy as well. But yeah, it's just amazing, really, how a country of 80 million people, really, there's not many people offering such a powerful treatment, really.
It's because it works. I mean, I was talking to a chap.
Yeah.
I was talking to a chap who his friend worked for a university. I think it was Leicester. I might be wrong there. And they were doing and they got funding to do an experiment with ozonated oil for children eardrops.
Yeah.
And they worked out that it got rid of all the ear infections.
Yeah.
And they got the funding pulled.
Yeah.
Because I think it was GlaxoSmithKline funds Leicester University or something like that. Anyway, I might have got the university wrong, but they got the funding pulled because of the results.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, really. I mean, I had a verruca on my foot for about a good year, and I threw everything at it. All the standard conventional treatments. I threw everything at it, and I didn't enjoy my holiday at all because I was in bare feet, and it was just horrendous. And then I just thought, actually, I've got 2 pots of ozonated oil in my fridge, and within 2 weeks it had gone pretty much, but it reduced by 80% within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I threw everything at it, all the Veruca, all the ointments that you see, hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of advertisements for. And yeah, ozonated oil completely, almost, by 80% within 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're still on YouTube, but I remember seeing a video of somebody having his feet massage with this oil. They must be making it fresh, and it was in somewhere like India or Thailand, and they were just massaging it with. I think he had like diabetes in one of his feet, and it
Yeah,
showed you the week to week difference it were making to his feet. It were amazing.
yeah, yeah,
But they were
yeah,
proper going for this massage. They were masks on because obviously you can't breathe ozone in,
yeah,
and they were using a lot of ozonated oil. But yeah, it was
yeah.
interesting, very
And
interesting.
for me personally as well, it's, the ozonated oil, I found it so powerful to the point, if I put the oil on past, say 6 o'clock in the evening, I'd struggle to sleep,
Yeah.
because obviously the ozone's entering into the pores through the feet, and obviously, stimulating my body, and obviously, so it was amazing, really. So I had to pick my moments, really. But you just can't go wrong with the oil, really, and so many different applications.
Well, the good thing about the oil, the ozone lasts a long time within the oil, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Ozonated water's slightly different. Its half-life's a bit less, isn't it? But I
yeah,
get that type of thing from ozone water.
yeah,
When
yeah,
a glass
yeah,
of ozone
yeah,
water, it really wakes me up
yeah,
more than
yeah.
a Tempass,
Oh, really? Interesting.
and the
Yeah, yeah,
injections used to do.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
although, yeah,
remember.
go on, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going. I remember I used to experiment with the ozone water, and take. I'd drink, a whole glass just before a workout,
Hmm.
and I would be able to add another 1 or 2 reps
Yeah, easy.
onto my
Yeah.
sets,
Hmm.
just from one, pint glass of ozonated water. I just thought, this is powerful.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that elite sports clubs haven't taken up whether it's injections or ozonated
Yeah.
water or Tempass treatments, because one, there's no ruling against it because you're not using
No.
any form of drug or anything like that. It's oxygen.
No.
I know when you have a Tempass, one thing you do feel is a day or two after, you've got 25% more in the tank, both in
Mm.
power and endurance.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Um,
Yeah.
and so with ozonated water, like you say, if you have one just before your training,
Yeah.
10 minutes before you train, it gives you so much more energy
Yeah,
to train.
yeah. No, it's all part of my routine, really. And when I had a few stomach issues as well, I think it was H. pylori or something like that.
Mm,
The ozonated
fantastic.
water was brilliant for it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, we used ozonated water when we. I mean, I seem to remember talking to you about parasites, but
Yeah,
we used that with a herb called Mimosa pudica, and
right.
Jesus, it was like Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
Um, right, we've covered your background. We've done
yeah.
training. You went. You were one of the first ones I knew over here to go to Las Vegas. Did you go to Las Vegas? Were it near there,
It was
Nevada? Nevada.
it was Nevada. Yeah, it was just Reno. So Vegas' little brother.
Yeah. But so what can you actually treat? People come to you and where can you actually inject? I know I were having intramuscular injections, so
Yeah. So I mean, anywhere that's in pain, anywhere that's weak, there's no real limit, really, to where you can treat. I'd say the most common areas that I treat, like I said, are arthritic issues. Let's see, a lot of knee arthritis, a lot of those areas of the body that have a poor blood supply. So tendons, ligaments, meniscus in the knees. We treat a lot of headaches as well. So a lot of the small muscles at the base of the skull, they can get very tight, and often massage isn't enough, and other treatments. So we use a very small needle, called the invisible needle. Actually, we use just at the base of the skull, and it's going to work like magic, really.
yeah.
So yeah, a lot of trigger points, and it's great for muscles are what I call slam dunks. One session, that's all you need. Sometimes muscles, the better the blood supply, the better results you get, really, in the body.
Yeah. I think I could do with some of them at the base of the skull.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could do with a top up at some point. But yeah, so intra-joint, so knee,
Yeah.
knees and things like that.
Yeah.
That's one of your specialities, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And one of the benefits of ozone, because I said earlier, it spreads very well. So when someone comes to see me and says, I've got knee pain, I don't know what's causing it. I know the pain's in the middle of the knee. I don't necessarily need to know which specific structure is wrong, because as the main universal kind of point that you inject within the knee, it spreads to all the structures within the joint. So yeah, that's really one of the benefits of it.
Yeah. What sort of what's the best sort of outcome you've ever had from a knee injection?
From a knee injection?
Yeah,
Well,
like an interjoint knee injection.
Yeah. So I had a martial artist came, and he'd fully torn his it was a full tear of his ACL. Now, a full tear generally is a surgery job, really, and he was so desperate not to go down the surgery route. I said to him that this is not going to work. But he'd said he'd found a study somewhere that it was more for the more traditional prolotherapy. Found that there was a case where a full tear had healed, and I said to him, "So I'm happy to treat him, but you've got to know that in my experience, it's not going to work." And he had 3 treatments, and yeah, he was back training and performing his martial arts, within a couple of months, really. So
happy to be proven wrong.
Exactly that. And
yeah.
I said, as I said earlier, I have some real severe cases come in, and I'm real with people. I say, look, this is likely it's not going to help. It's not going to make it worse. It'll always strengthen an area, but it's whether it'll actually reduce your symptoms or not. It's very hard to know with those extremely severe cases. But I'm always happy to try, and most people are happy to try because they come to see me because they want to avoid the steroid injections, the surgery, the lifelong prescription of painkillers. So yeah.
Yeah, it's worth a try at least.
It is.
What is, you mentioned Prolozone. For people out there, what is Prolozone?
So Prolozone is essentially sort of an injection of medical ozone with the combination combined with nutrients. So sometimes a bit of B vitamins, some small bit of dextrose in there. So it all helps to enhance the effects of the ozone. I mainly only use it in joints because there's more space to absorb. If I'm injecting superficial areas like tendons, ligaments, or muscles, the ozone alone is all you need, really. That's the main active ingredient.
I mean, we're saying injecting joints, but you're not actually injecting into a joint. You're injecting into the cavity, aren't you?
Yeah.
I don't want people out there thinking you're stabbing people into.
No. We're just injecting into the space. The needle doesn't come into contact with the bone, or it's very, very safe. It's just going into the cavity, into the space, and as you inject, it spreads around efficiently around the joint.
Do you do the hip injections as well?
Yeah, we inject into the hip as well. Yeah. I
saw some of them on YouTube. It's not something I've ever had done, but it goes deep into the hip cavity, doesn't it?
Yeah, you have to use ultrasound for that.
Right.
Most of the hip joints, but that can work really, really well. Hip arthritis. It's as long as there's not too much stiffness in the joint, it can work really, really well for. But we get a lot more people with knees than we do hips, because knee replacements aren't as successful as hip replacements. So there's a lot more people with knee problems searching for us than hip problems at the moment.
When you say they're not as successful, do you mean post?
Yeah, post. Yeah, so yeah, the outcomes are poor, and even you speak to the most experienced surgeons, they'll say, look, you want to try and put off a knee replacement for as long as possible. So if someone's in their 50s and they're desperate, we've got a desperate case of arthritis. The problem is that because the knee replacement only lasts 15 years, the second replacement they'd have to have is actually even less successful than the first. That's why the NHS won't really operate on you until you're over 60. So that's why we get a lot of people that under the age of 60 that are suffering from arthritis and been told they need a replacement, but aren't going to go on. I've been told not to put one off for as long as possible. So yeah. I mean, I can see a surge of with obviously the running communities doubled or tripled in size in the last 15 years. So maybe 15, 20 years time, I can see a surge of kind of arthritic knees coming in to see us. So there's going to have to be a natural solution like ozone to help out.
Yeah, well, I can also see that I think people's bones are weaker as well, and because of the way because of lifestyle.
Lifestyle, water supply, everything. I
Yeah,
always remember someone came to see me and he said, because of all, he said the water supply, because they're inorganic minerals, they're
yeah,
just turning our cartilage into stone, really.
yes, yeah.
And because cartilage doesn't have a blood supply, so it can't flush out toxins as efficiently as muscles and skin
Mm.
can, really. So yeah, as blunt as it sounds, I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, but well, again, you've got to filter your water. You've got to filter it with, even if you're just doing it with a normal filter, you've got to do something to get rid of some of the crap that's in the water.
Yeah.
And stop calcify. I spoke with Dr. Thomas Levy. I don't know if you've the
Oh
vitamin C
yes,
guy.
the
Yeah,
vitamin C guy.
did
Yeah,
a podcast with him a few months ago, and he's written a book about calcium.
yeah,
I might pick him up on
yeah.
that one actually because we didn't talk much about that. About how calcium's one of the leading causes of death. He's a cardiovascular surgeon, I
Mm.
think. He
Yeah,
was at
yeah,
one point. So yeah, quite interesting listening to talk how things are calcifying us, and you'll be seeing that in the joint as well, won't you? I
yeah,
presume.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But yeah.
yeah,
So you were talking earlier about EMS.
yeah.
Explain what EMS is.
So EMS it's electro muscle stimulation. So essentially, it's so as we're all aware of a TENS machine. So you stick pads on, obviously it stimulates the muscle. So an EMS is essentially where you wear a suit.
Right.
So it's kind of a t-shirt and kind of a jacket and shorts, and wherever that jacket and shorts is in contact with your body, it's stimulating.
Right.
So it was originally developed in Germany by one of the it was by the Bayern Munich team doctor in the 90s, because they were trying to develop something that was going to get their players back fit quicker than normal rehab. So if someone had broken or torn a ligament, they wanted to stimulate the muscles and get them back to full fitness much quicker than normal rehab was. And then in the sort of 2000s, they commercialized the technology, really. And so it's you get a full body workout in just 20 minutes, but it's stimulating the muscles in a way 80 times per second in a way that regular exercise can't. So it's great for people that have got injuries or for whatever reason they can't do regular exercise, because you're not having to actually move much or do lots of lunges or anything too demanding on the body, yet you're actually able to stimulate the muscles. So it's and they use it a lot for sports performance, really, because it helps to, like I said, it's almost like jump starting the car, but for the muscles. There's a lot of muscles that are laying dormant, in our bodies. Even the most the most highly trained sort of professional sportsmen. There's some deeper muscles that just aren't activating properly, and these EMS suits help to activate the deep layers of the muscle. So then people get more out of their gym sessions, or they get more out of their sporting activities. So yeah, lots of different uses. And I remember I first came across it because I had a chap come in for his knee arthritis, and I always ask people during their consultation what they've been doing themselves to help themselves. And he said, "Oh, I went to this EMS studio in London. I've had 2 sessions, and it's the strongest my thighs have been in years." So I just thought, going back to what you said, always wanting to, offer, be open-minded and offer the most effective treatments. I just thought, man, this is something that may be able to enhance the, what I'm doing with the injections, and obviously has, a lot more wide-ranging, benefits as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's always good to add. I mean, our clinic, we're only open 2 or 3 days a week. We don't push having masses of people coming in and out. It's not a full-time thing for us. But
Yeah.
what we're looking at doing is opening up 5 of the rooms to other people who may sort of have synergy within what we do. So that might be something we can talk about actually later.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Because okay, so where do you see? You said you're going to expand. What do you see the expansion like?
Yeah, so obviously we get a lot of for obvious reasons, we get a lot of females asking for whether we've got clinics closer to them, because pain limits people's ability to get places, really, and they have to rely on family members to bring them. So we're obviously looking for a somewhere in the north to kind of to base ourselves. That'll be So provide easy access for people in the north, as opposed to having to drive all the way here, and then somewhere on the south coast as well, really. So yeah, it's just I said finding the right people to train up and take on the demand, really.
Would you be able to train them then?
Yeah, I'll be able to train them. Yeah. I said over the years, I've written down all my protocols, and everything that I was taught by Dr. Schallenberger has evolved naturally in the last 8.5 years. So yeah, it's I've kind of refined everything into actually a lot safer ways of treating people as well. We use much smaller needles than they do over in America, and we use much sort of safer protocols. So it's it's a really sort of sort of turnkey, really kind of solution, really, to training.
I mean, you've come at it from a slightly different angle from where Schallenberg, I suppose, came from it. Although he's still the man, but you've come from it from a totally different, well, slightly different angle, I'd say. But you've finessed what you've done. I remember coming out to see the first time, and 2 or 3 years later, when I came down to your new spot there in Bedford, you were doing it slightly different. You were doing like micro injections around an area as opposed to one big slot of ozone into a muscle.
Yeah, because I've learned now exactly which, what sort of strength of ozone to use for each joint, and then not only for each joint, but for each joint, what to use for a male or a female, what to use for a certain age group of each joint of that male or female. I've found all the different strengths can be applicable to different age groups, different levels of activity, diet as well. If someone comes to see me and they're clearly got a poor diet, I have to use a different strength of ozone for them. So it's really, really refined what we're doing here, really, to try and get the best results.
Yeah, if I ever have a 10 pass or even a 2 or a 4 pass or whatever, I'll have it on a strength of 35. I won't go up to crank it up to 70 gamma. I know with injections it's slightly different. You can't do it on super strength like that, but it's 35 for some reason seems to be my number. Even insufflations, we talk about insufflations, rectal insufflations. I do it on 35. It seems to work for me. It's obviously a frequency, isn't it, that works?
It is, yeah, and I think I said my background as well. I'd about 13, 14 years ago, I had chronic fatigue syndrome. So that was another part of the reason I got into ozone as well, because it really helped to clear out all the toxicity in the leaky gut and everything that helped with me. And for me, when I was first starting out, less was more for me. And now I'm at a point where I can tolerate a lot more. And it's so it is, it's very everybody has their whichever sort of stage of health they're in, everybody will have their kind of ideal strength of ozone to use.
Yeah, well, I have to say I don't know where I'd have been without ozone. I don't know how I'd have got through the last. When you're struggling with an illness, I remember coming down to London to see you, and I didn't, and you wouldn't have known this, but I didn't actually know how I was going to make it back. That's how bad I felt. You put a brave face on it, blah blah blah, but that's how bad I felt coming down to London. And I'd never had ozone injections. I'd done ozone, and so like that guy you were talking about, I wasn't scared of needles, but I didn't know what the treatment was going to do.
I mean, I tell your story. Every kind of other Lyme patient that probably comes to see me, I tell your story about how what you've been through, really, and how there is a way out of it, really, and some you probably see a lot of very ill-looking people, but Lyme can affect you in different ways, because there's always a way out when ozone is on the menu, really.
It's quite a big commitment. So to wrap up then, just let's tell people where you are again and how they can get in touch with you. I always forget that, and I always get a rollicking when I'm doing podcasts with my brother. So you missed all that off and blah blah blah.
Well, I said we're a ProHealth Clinic, based in Bedford, about 40 minutes train journey from London. And prohealthclinic.co.uk. We're open sort of Monday to Saturdays. And that's it.
What I would say, there's easy access via train into Bedford, either from the London. I came from up north, but so I came down there. But from London, there would be easy access to Bedford Station.
We're quite close to Milton Keynes as well. So Milton Keynes, train station is not too far, about sort of 25 minutes away. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks very much.
No, thanks, Dom. Yeah, it's always great to speak to like-minded people, really, because you get quite lonely in the alternative health world, really, particularly with Ozone. So it's great to.
Well, it's surprising. Just so you say that, a lot of people in the alternative world. I know when I was going through my stuff, I was going through nutritionists or functional doctors, and none of them had ever heard of Ozone. None of them had ever even not only not heard of it, they're not done anything like that, or even high-dose vitamin C IVs and things like that. So they were totally sort of in the tunnel vision of doing it their way. And as soon as I mentioned I was doing it, oh no, just like a normal doctor would. I don't know about that. You need to look into. Well, I've been doing it for quite a while, type of thing. You know? And so even they were trying to talk me out of doing it.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing, really. But I think we could just carry on, spreading the health gospel, as I call it, and use our own, personal experiences, to shine the light, really.
Yeah. Even Dr. Klangard, who's I've got a lot of respect for on Lyme disease, will not talk about doing Ozone. I find that really amazing from a guy that's as open as he is on things.
It's I mean, everybody, does have their way and their own way of doing things, really. But like I said, it's just, I think that I said to whether you're a practitioner or a patient, I think it's just we're a sufferer of a condition. Your biggest asset to your health is being open-minded. The more open-minded you are, the quicker you're going to get from A to B.
And I would say with that open-mindedness, only try one thing at a time.
Exactly.
So we've come to the end of another episode. Look up the ProHealth Clinic in Bedford. I've put all Oliver's contact details in the description notes below. I can vouch for the service he runs. It gave me so much relief from pain I can't even describe. Please use the discount code when ordering supplements. If you don't use the discount code, we can do it after you've ordered. If you just send us an email, we're happy to pro-rata the discount off after an order's gone through, so don't worry about that. That's all we've got time for. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you next time.